And we are live. What's happening, everybody? It's your boy Cole Mize coming at you once again with another live stream. Thank y'all so much for stopping by and hanging out. As I always say, y'all could be doing anything else, but y'all chose to come and hang out here. So that always means a lot, man. And it's always a blast, man. Y'all always hit me with some good questions. We have a good time, cut up, you know what I'm saying? Just chill out. But so quick update. Haven't had time to record stuff on my end yet. I've been grinding hard, man. There's a lot of stuff people don't see behind the scenes that it's going down. So there's several artists I'm working with right now behind the scenes on their like projects, like full-length projects. We're talking like albums, EPs, things of that nature. So man, last week there was a couple days where I didn't even sleep for 2 days. Like I was going a lot of hours without sleep, and you pay for that. And so like right now I'm actually in the process of recovering, trying to get caught up on rest. You done grinded a little bit too hard when you need about 16 hours of sleep, which is crazy, where you like a whole day is just gone. You don't even know what happened. You just sleeping like a vampire. So which that kind of leads me to another thing I want to talk about real briefly is like, I think it's important for us all to always be keeping in mind like what our artist development plans are, or just development plans, period, as human beings. So we're always improving upon ourselves, so we're not stagnant and just staying in the same place all the time. I think to be alive means you're growing, and when you quit growing, you basically are dead in a sense. And so like one thing for me is one of the biggest things I've struggled with for the longest, and it seems so trivial, at least to me anyways, is just having a freaking sleeping schedule and sticking to it. It's like so difficult for me, and I think a lot of it is psychological because I've always been like a night owl, but at the same time I feel really good when I wake up early in the morning. I feel like I'm ahead of the day. I'm talking like getting up at like 5:30, getting a nice little workout in, getting some meditation in, taking a shower, just getting ahead of the day. And so that's one of the things I've struggled with the longest. Like I'll have patches where I'm like, I stay on a good schedule for like 2 weeks and I feel like, man, I just got so much control. And then I have these spurts where I've got like some type of time sensitive stuff, like a project or a song I'm trying to get mixed, by X day of the week. And and so I get so focused on completing that job or that task to where I'm like, hey man, I got to do this by any means necessary, whatever it takes. And next thing you know, the sleeping schedule's all out of whack and I don't know what's going on. I just wake up when I wake up and I work until I pass out. And that's something I've been trying to get so much better at. Cause like right now I've been like in recovery for like the past couple of days. That's how hard I was pushing myself last week. And I'm still like in the process of recovering. And it's just not healthy. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to sleep is so important, man. One interesting thing about sleep is when you go to sleep, that's when your brain like really processes all the information that you took in, all the new things that you learned. It's like it's storing everything and processing everything in your brain. And just health reasons, it's been proven that people who get more sleep typically live longer, have lower, blood pressure, less stress, it's just healthier immune systems. There's just so much that goes into it. So that's been one of my personal things that I've been working on for myself. It's just trying to get a sleeping schedule and stick to it. And so, hey, I'm a work in development. That's what I always say. I'm always a work in development. I never got it all, you know what I'm saying, just everything figured out and perfected. And even if I did, I'd be finding something else to improve. So it's good. It keeps you humble. It keeps you hungry. And so just wanted to share that with y'all. And also, before we get started, I just want to give y'all a little bit of a history lesson, not a lesson, but share another story with y'all I was thinking about. Just a cool question that I get asked sometimes. But when it comes to live performances, what's my best and worst experience performing live? And I've done quite a few performances over the years. Still not done. I feel like more is even in the future, but I think one of my best live performances, or my favorite, I'm not gonna say it's my best, but like my most memorable. Actually, one came to mind. I've already shared that one, so I'll share another one. Briefly, the first one I thought of was when I performed live at one of my high school like assemblies, where like the whole school was together in the gymnasium, and I performed live with a rap group that I had just started working with. I just started recording in my studio. I call it a studio. All I had was like this cheap Packard Bell $10 microphone or whatever that plugs into the back of your computer, and that's what I was recording people with. And that was like a big step from what we had at the time, because people were still recording on cassette tapes and stuff and karaoke machines and things of that nature. And anyways, that like led me to working with local talent, recording them, and ended up recording in front of the whole, performing in front of the whole school, and ripped it. Like the whole crowd just went nuts once I got done rapping my verse. It was so loud to the point I couldn't even hear myself rapping over the mic system, which wasn't that great to begin with in a gymnasium that has no sound absorption. There's a lot of reverb in there. But that was probably one of my favorites, just because that's when I like got all the affirmation that, Cole, you really got some talent. You really got some skill. I mean, if you can rock a whole school, you know what I'm saying? Like that's legit. It's not just like a couple of your really close friends saying, oh yeah, your stuff's awesome, keep it up, you're awesome, you're great. When you do it, when you rock a whole school, that's a whole nother level. And I thought it was a joke at first. Like I was like, this can't be real. Like they can't be feeling it like this. And like people was screaming and getting up and stuff. And once I got done with that performance, people started rushing me afterwards, and everybody's like, man, I didn't even know you rapped. You know what I'm saying? And like, it was just like surreal. And that's what really solidified me. That's when I knew I was onto something when it came to rap. And I knew I had talent for sure at that point. But apart from that, one of my favorite performances was I released a demo in 2005. I had saved up for like over a year to record at this studio in Atlanta called Patchwork Studios. This is where Outkast has recorded a lot of songs. Usher, Ludacris, Field Mob, Nas has recorded there. I mean, you name it. Like, everybody's been recorded here. Field Mob was recording their album at the same time. I think it was their first album with Disturbing the Peace at the time. Same studio that I was recording in. And it was just a dream of mine to record there. So I saved up, man. Thousands. Like I probably had like $3,000 or $4,000 I had saved up for over a year just to record at this place, just because it was a dream. It was just something I aspired to do, so I set out to do it, man. And after that was done, I got my CDs printed up. I got my business cards and all my stuff, and started hitting shows and doing shows locally and just going everywhere that I could with it. And there was a rap group that I had been beefing with in high school. I called them out. They went to a private school, and I listened to their CD, and people was like, man, you got to get up with these cats, man. Y'all can make some fire stuff together. So I got their CD, and the way that was presented to me was, hey, these are these cats at this private school. This is where, a lot of your privileged people are going to school. And I pick up the CD. I'm like, this will be interesting to see what they're talking about. And I started hearing them talking about like pulling out guns and stuff like that, and they'll run up on you and shoot you and stuff. And I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you for real? So I don't know, it just offended me. Like, I was just offended. Like, and I felt like I had to call them out on it. So, like, anyways, I made a diss track, and then we started going back and forth. And then the rap group their rap group got involved in it. And then the rap group I was affiliated with got involved in it. And then we just ended up squashing it eventually, but it was always that tension. Anyways, we was cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't have no beef after that. But fast forward, when I finished my demo CD, my own solo project, I was cool with people from that same school, to still had connections with them. And I ended up connecting back with them, and we actually talked about doing a show together. And so they would bring their fan base, I'd bring my fan base. And we actually got a local venue in my hometown. It was a small venue. It's like a teen club. It was right next to a music shop, and the music owner also rented out the club. You know, do like events and stuff like that. It was, it wasn't a humongous event. Like a huge venue. It probably got about 100, 150 people in there. But man, this is when MySpace was at the pinnacle. This is like 2000 and, like I said, 2005. So MySpace was still on and popping, and we just started promoting like crazy. And we ended up packing out this venue. And it was fun, man. Made some decent little money that night. Rocked the crowd. There's a lot of love and stuff. But to me, that was like one of my favorite performances. Not just because of the accomplishment of doing this CD and where I recorded it, but also like putting together my own show. Like, this is my first show that I put together from scratch, like nothing. I was able to get the venue for free. We packed it out. The owner was happy, and it was like like simple stuff. Like, I went to the owner. He was by the bar, and I was like, asking for a drink, and he hands me the drink, and I asked him like, how much did the drink cost? He's like, cost? Like, you can't. Your money's no good here. Like, you packed out this whole place. Like, you can drink as much stuff as you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just felt good. Just felt really good, man. Like, to do that. It's not easy. And promotion and marketing is the very thing that most artists struggle with or just completely neglect altogether. And there's a saying that goes, making music, that's the easy part. It's what comes after the music. That's where the work really begins. And that's actually getting out there and promoting your marketing your stuff. So that's hard work. It's really hard work. But let me share like one of my worst experiences. One of them, because I've had a few, but one of the worst ones was this artist I know hits me up. He's like, "Hey man, we got this venue we're performing at. It's 3 hours away. You want to, do a couple songs and do like 15, 20-minute spot or something like that." So I, asking questions about the venue and yada, yada, yada. And he's using terms like, the event coordinator and this and that. And, what's up, Drowsy? I see you. And so I'm thinking like, this is legit. Like, they having sound check. He's talking about they got sound check happening at this time. I'm like, okay, it sounds legit, So he asked me, if I want to ride up with them the night before. So we'll already be there at the venue, right? I'm talking to my wife. This is one of the moments where I'm like, man, thank God for a wife. You know what I'm saying? A good wife. And I'm talking to my wife, and she's like, why in the world are they going down the night before if it's only 3 hours away? Like, why get a hotel room if it's within driving distance? I was like, yeah, that's a good point. So I was like, nah, I'm not. I'll just come down there. You know what I'm saying? I'll just meet y'all there. I can still sleep in and get there on time. So I drive down there. It's, like I said, 3 hour drive. It's a long drive. That's 6 hours round trip. You know what I'm saying? And I get down there and I hit them up. I'm like, I'm getting close. I'm about 30, 45 minutes away. And I'm hitting them up and I'm asking them where they at. And they're still like at the hotel or whatever, I was like, okay, cool, or whatever. I said, well, I'll just go ahead and go to the venue and I'll just wait on y'all. I'll just meet y'all up there. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm getting really close to the venue, right? And I'm just taking in the scenery. I'm looking around and I'm like, this does not look like a residential area. Like, I don't see no businesses. I see nothing but trees and wildlife. And I don't know this area, so I'm like, you never know what's around the corner. So I'm optimistic, as I usually am. I'm a glass is half full kind of guy. And so I'm getting up on like 1 mile away. And it's telling me, you're going to take your next turn up here on the left, right? Still no residential stuff. So I get to my turn, and it's a subdivision. And I'm like, what? A subdivision? And I drive to the spot, and it tells me where my location is going to be at, and it's actually a person's house. Red flag number one. So I'm sitting there keep in mind, and I get there before the person gets there that went there the night before. So I'm sitting there, I'm just waiting. You know, it's difficult. I'm kind of heated a little bit. I'm a little disappointed. I'm thinking a venue. So I'm like, I don't know. Still don't know anything. So anyways, they get there, you know, about 10, 15 minutes after I get there. So we walk in together. Come to find out, what this really is a family reunion. There's no stage. It's just a backyard of somebody's house. The sound system, I kid you not, was like a Memorex CD player you could get from Walmart. You know, just a single CD player, right? No like real mixing console, nothing like that. They were putting a microphone up to the speaker on the Memorex CD player, and that's how they was getting music onto the system. Oh, and they only had one speaker stand. The other stand was sitting on some boxes. It was so like one speaker's all the way up here, one speaker's like down here, and like everybody that's there is like is a family, and they're not even there to hear music. They're there to eat food. It was, you know, to eat food, get their smoke or drink on or whatever. And so there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse when you're a performer and you're going to a place to perform and people aren't there to see you perform. That sucks. It makes you feel so empty inside. It makes you feel so out of place. You know, there's nothing more embarrassing for you to put your heart and soul into something, and people just sitting there licking their fingers, eating chicken wings and stuff like that, and treating you just like you background music. You know what I'm saying? And dude, that has got to be one of the worst experiences I've ever had performing. And I remember I had a meeting with myself in the car before I went back home. And I said, never again will I ever do something like this. Like, never again. And I could just hear the words of my wife in my head, like, something ain't right about this. Like, something don't seem right. So, with that being said, always, communication is so important. And whenever you're getting involved in anything, you got to ask the right questions. I mean, all the right questions. Do not assume anything at all. So that was definitely one of the worst experiences. I got a free plate. I can at least say I got some free food out the deal. But yeah, that was pretty bad. So anyways, I just want to share that with y'all. But anyways, let's get to some questions, man. Everybody in the chat, y'all feel free to ask any questions you have. What's up, Sam? I see you. Ask your questions. Monica will be, taking them out the chat and posting them over here so I can answer them. And shouts out to Monica for being the moderator, keeping all the drama out there. I know she didn't already had to kick somebody out the chat. Good job. We don't give no attention to trolls, man. We don't feed the trolls. So Andrew asked, what are the best interfaces to hook up to between mic and computer? So good question. Man, there's so many. The thing is interfaces have become so cheap. And when I say cheap, I just mean affordable, not like lack of quality. There's so many really great options out there. I mean, you can get a really good interface for about $99, $100, $105 with shipping and handling. Just two off the top would be the Scarlett, the Focusrite Scarlett. You can get that for about $100, or you can get the PreSonus Studio One box. I think it's just called the audio box. You can get that for about $100 as well. And also the PreSonus version, it comes with free software. It comes with their Studio One software, which I'm actually itching to switch over to here in the near future, because it's just so innovative, man. It really is. I mean, I don't even want to go into all the details on that, but from what I've seen and from what I've heard, they've been doing an amazing job with their software. Honestly, when it comes to recording gear and stuff like that, you have to remember that you're getting into an industry. And I'm not even speaking like the music side, like the music business industry. You're getting into like the industry of gear. And the thing is companies need to make a living every single year selling gear. And so they're always going to be coming out with the new and improved or the best and yada, yada, yada. And there's always going to be hype about what mic should I use? What interface should I get? What digital converters and yada, yada, yada. And you got to remember that when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, all people care about when they listen to your music is, do they like it or not? How does the beat sound? Is the hook catchy? They don't care what you used to record with. They don't care what you used to mix, master, produce. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? And so when it's all said and done, you really don't need a whole lot to really get awesome results. I'm kind of a minimalist in a sense, meaning I'm not someone who feels like I need a bunch of stuff to get a lot of really good results. Think about a gym, for an example. Like there's people who have, there's really nice gyms that you can work out at, right? But you also see these videos of these cats in the hood working out on playground equipment, ripped to the gills. I mean, look at people in prison. You know what I'm saying? Like being innovative, working out with whatever they can get, you know what I'm saying? And, weighting down like pillowcases and using them as like, what do they call them? What's the term? Kettlebells, like stuff like that. Like, it's not so much about what you have, it's about what you do with what you have. But people who's trying to sell you a product, they're not going to tell you that because they want you to buy their product. And so there's so much hype out there. For an example, like, what makes a $5,000 or $8,000 microphone so expensive? Is if you could compare that to a $100 microphone, is it going to sound $8,000 better? The answer is simply no. It's just not. It's not. It's not going to be like audio gold when you hear it. And another thing too is all microphones don't sound the same. Even the same models don't sound exactly the same. And one microphone is going to sound different on different people. For an example, if you're an artist that has a really deep voice, then you're going to want a microphone that is, we call it as a little bit brighter, most likely. Brighter meaning it has boosted high end. So you get more of the sibilances and stuff like that. If you're a female that already has like a high pitched voice, then you may want a microphone that has a little more low end to it, a little more body to make your voice sound a little more fuller on the mic. You don't want it to sound too thin or too sharp. And so anyways, when it comes to gear, you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get really good results. I actually wrote an article on my website called How to Get a Home Studio for less, I think it's for less than $300. And it just breaks it down. Audio interface, get you some good mic cables, get you a decent microphone, get you a mic stand, get you a pop filter, and get some headphones, because that's the cheapest route to go. Of course, assuming you already have some type of computer. Speakers are really cool, but you don't need speakers to make music. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're recording, your speakers aren't even going to be playing. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want your speakers being picked up on the mic. And when you're mixing, I mean, if you're doing mixing and stuff, that's when it's good to have some speakers that have, a larger cone on them so you can hear the lower frequencies and stuff like that. But still, once you bring speakers into the equation, you have a new issue. And it's something called room acoustics, which that also plays into recording vocals, but which I've talked about in the previous video. So I won't go too crazy in depth in that because I can get on these tangents and go far left or right. But simply using headphones eliminates the room acoustics. You don't have noise bouncing around the walls when you're playing stuff on your headphones. So headphones is a really cheap way to go ahead and get into it. From out the gate. And so you don't have to be spending $1,000 on some speakers, $1,000 on an interface, $1,000 on some, some headphones or whatever. Just get you a basic setup. And when I say basic, I don't mean it's going to hold you back. I'm telling you, like a doll right now, a digital audio workstation, what you get with just a free piece of software like Audacity. Free piece of software. PreSonus has a free version of their software. That's awesome. It's awesome. What you get with that, if you took all those digital plugins like the compressors and equalizers, if that were to be like analog gear, you would be into hundreds of thousands of dollars for, what you would use on a project. We have the luxury of like using a compressor on as many tracks as we want. In the analog world, you have to have that many physical compressors to use them on individual tracks, unless you're doing some type of bus processing where you're running all these tracks into one channel, like a vocal box channel, a Vox box, or a vocal bus channel. So anyways, long-winded answer. Scarlett, I think it's like the two, it has the two inputs, two mic inputs into it. It's red. It's really nice, man. I know a lot of my students who use it, as well as the PreSonus audio box. Either one of those are great. Run with it. You know what I'm saying? Get that. Because when it comes to your budget, don't get so caught up just buying stuff to impress other people. Like, oh, I got this mic. You know what I'm saying? Because no one really cares. And it's not going to make your music better. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? You can record with budget gear, but if you're an amazing songwriter, your music is going to sound awesome. It's just that simple. If you know how to work with what you have, you can get amazing results. There's people who's literally producing hit records out of hotel rooms on a laptop with some headphones, a decent little mic. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. They're cranking them out. I know producers who do the same thing. Producers who travel with their laptops. They use headphones and they make beats in places that inspire them. It could be the coffee shop. It could be on the beach or in the library or wherever. You know what I'm saying? So hope that helps. Sam Bruner said, how do you get a simple demo together? Really, it's not complex. I mean, a demo is not something you hear often these days. Now you hear people talking about EPs and stuff. A demo typically in the past was something that you used to try to get signed to a record label. It's something that you were trying to get in the hands of an A&R at a record label. An A&R is basically a talent scout that's looking for talent, looking at what they could invest in and turn a profit on. And that's become so much more rare now because labels are really hesitant to put money behind an artist, especially if that artist doesn't have any type of fan base built. So that was typically, what we would call a demo. It's anywhere between 3 to 5 songs or whatever. And you could call that an EP now. EP just means extended play. So you have a single, which is one song. An EP is like a single, but you get a little bit more, but it's still not a full project. So an EP can be anywhere between 5 to 8 songs. An album may be anywhere between, 10 to 16 or whatever, plus songs or whatever. So, getting a simple demo together, Sam, is just, it's just a matter of, you want it to be, 4 or 5 of your best songs that you can put together. So you may actually, work on, 10, 15, maybe even 20 songs, trying to kind of find your voice and your style and stuff like that. And then from that, you will pick maybe 5 of the strongest ones. And then that's what you use to promote yourself. And you want to give people the best impression of you. So, and nowadays it can be so affordable to do so because less and less people are using audio CDs, like physical CDs. Very few people are using them like we used to. Now, if someone does get a CD, usually the first thing they do is they come home, they rip it on their computer, and then they, get it on their smart devices, tablets, phones, or whatnot. And they use the CD as like memorabilia. It's like a part of their collection. It's not as common now to see people riding around with CD cases and stuff like that. And they pulling CDs out their CD case and putting it in the CD player, because now everything is going towards streaming. So now with a demo, you don't even have to get CDs printed up. You can just get what we call download cards, and you just pass out these download cards to people, and it has a link to your demo or your EP or whatever it is that you're promoting, your single, whatever. And you just do it that way. So, apart from the music side of things with a demo, you definitely want to have a bio written about you, something that's interesting that gives people a kind of a taste of what you sound like, to pique their interest if they haven't heard you yet. That's kind of like your sales pitch as you as an artist. You want to explain yourself in a way that's going to, it's kind of like writing a really good headline for an article. It's something that's really going to kind of entice that person to check you out. So a good bio can do that. It doesn't have to be a long bio. You can keep it down to maybe a couple paragraphs, you know what I'm saying? Um, and, a decent picture of yourself or some artwork or something of that nature. And you're pretty much set, as far as putting a demo out there. The main thing is when you promote anything is you want to keep in mind the consumer of that material, and you want to make it as convenient for them as possible to consume what you're promoting. So CDs, though they're not as popular as they used to be, they're still relevant. And especially like here in the South, there's still a lot of people who use CDs, but it's becoming more and more common for, streaming, YouTube, Spotify, things of that nature, where people just streaming stuff. So hope that helps. H8 Reviews says, how do I get better at wordplay while staying on topic of the song? So I actually talked about this last stream. I highly recommend you check that out. Man, like the first, actually that whole stream was on point. I mean, just so much good information. So I don't want to repeat too much of the stuff I already said there, but my best advice to you, HH Reviews, is you got to have a vision for a song before you start writing it, because a vision is where you are aiming to go with something, and then your mission is how you get there. So it's important to have some type of destination in mind before you start doing something, so you know what you're working towards. So I've made the mistake many a times of writing a song and not having a plan, and then I'm just writing my verse and I'm just, get off topic because I have no place I'm trying to go. I'm just letting, whatever rhymes I can come up with lead what I'm saying, and that's not the best way to write. It's not a wrong way to write. I'm not, definitely, as I always say, there's no rules in rapping, there's only techniques. But I found it to be highly effective to do something what I refer to as a storyboard method. If you get a chance, go to my website, search for how to write a rap song, because I talk about it in there. And it will kind of share with you some of those ideas. And also, if you go back and watch the series I'm currently doing with all my students with it's called Let's Write a Rap Song Live. You get to see the whole process. Before we ever wrote the song, we already knew exactly what we was trying to accomplish. We knew going into it that this beat made a lot of people feel like it gave them ideas of the come up and, making it as a rapper, like, rags to riches. And we went with that. And then we just brainstormed a storyline to go along with that. And was like, okay, we'll start it here. We'll start the first verse. It's basically going to be where he's down and out. He's struggling as a rapper. He's not getting no play, no love, nothing like that. Second verse, he's going to start seeing some success. He's going to start finally starting to see some of the fruits of his labor. The third verse is where he's actually made it. He's so established to where he's actually looking back now on his past and kind of just relishing that moment of realizing his dream. And so because we knew that, we was also able to flip the hooks so that the hooks flipped as the song progressed. So each hook was slightly different. Even though it was using the same melody and the same cadences, we changed the lyrics to support the progressiveness of the storyline. And that just goes to show you how much planning already went ahead of writing before we wrote any rhymes. We already knew what we was trying to accomplish. And that, in my opinion, that's how you stay on topic, is you need to know what the purpose is of the song. And that's probably the first question I ask myself before I ever even start considering working on the song, is I ask myself, like, what does this instrumental tell me? What is it saying to me? What thoughts come to mind when I hear this music? And then, boom, the creation process of the song already starts as you get those creative ideas, jot them down. It's not a time to be too super critical or judgmental of what you're doing. Just get your ideas down. You know what I'm saying? Just get them down. What comes to mind? Boom, write that down. Boom, write that down. And once you get a gist of what you think this song is going to be about, then you figure out, okay, now how am I going to structure this song? If it's about this, and how am I going to from beginning to end of the song, how am I going to get this across in a way that's entertaining to the listener? And then that's when you kind of figure out the structure of it, and you're just throwing ideas around. And then that way, when you go to write the song, you already know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and it makes the process so much easier. And I think the live songwriting session will demonstrate that to you. And keep in mind, I'm doing that with my students. They're the ones throwing me the lyrics. I mean, I'm not even, writing the song myself. They're throwing me lyrics, and I'm just kind of going through them and picking, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that. So check that out. I think that's going to help you out a lot. Jay Pexy. Notice most rappers never only stop on the snare at the fourth beat. Most of what I've been listening to lately sounds as if they stop on the first kick and just play around with that. Is that a thing? Absolutely, that's a thing. So I do it all the time. And I say this because everything in music is about those beats, the 4 beats. You don't have to land on every single snare or every single kick. In fact, you can have a flow to where you don't even land on any of the kicks or snares, where you dance around them and you take pauses on the beat. Because even if you take a pause on the beat, you're still on beat. You know what I'm saying? Just because you gotta remember that a beat is just 4 evenly divided sections within each bar. So within each beat is also space that you also have evenly divided sections within that space. So when you change your cadence up, and just to kind of elaborate once again, just to kind of clarify, when I say cadence, I look at cadence and flow differently. Okay. I look at cadence as a zoomed in view of how you are moving around on that particular bar. So when I say cadences, I'm saying how you're moving around on multiple bars. When I think of flow, I think of a zoomed out view, looking at, let's say, a whole verse, for example, and looking at how all those cadences connect together. And that's how I think of flow. And one of the ways that you change your flow up, or your cadence, I should say, one of the ways that you change your cadence up is you change where you breathe at. So for an example, if you're rapping, let's say 2 or 4 bars, and you are breathing right after that fourth beat on the snare. So you say something right on top of the snare, and then you take a quick breath and you come right back in on the first beat of the next bar. If you want to change your cadence up a little bit, then do what you're listening to. Okay, on the next one, maybe do another one where you come all the way through. Instead of taking a pause at the end of that fourth beat, you keep rapping. So you hit the fourth beat and you keep rapping, and then you rap and then take a breath on the first beat of the next bar. Or you even rap on top of the first beat and take a breath right after the first beat, and then come right back in on the second beat. You will find that breathing has everything to do with your cadence. It has everything to do with it. If you want to change up your cadence, look at your pauses. That's the first step. You could take the 16 count that I've demonstrated. You could take that 16 count and just start adding pauses in there, and you're going to see, like, wow, it actually sounds like totally different. It actually sounds like a real flow, because most of what you're hearing in rap is people rapping using 16th notes. And then we'll usually dip in and out of 30-second notes if we want to create like a triplet, like ba-da-bow, like something like that, da-da-dow. That's like a triplet. We'll kind of use dipping out of that, but primarily we're using 16th notes most of the time, just generally speaking. And so just adding pauses changes the way it sounds and feels completely. So play around with that. You can take a pause anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that helps. But yeah, that's definitely a thing, and just have fun with it. I'm glad to hear that you're studying people that in depth to where you're noticing that. Keep that up. You know what I'm saying? Because you're picking up on patterns, which is really good. And as you keep studying people, you'll keep picking up those patterns, and you realize, oh, it's not such a magic trick after all. There's actually techniques to this stuff, and have fun with it. Learn what they're doing, apply it to what you're doing, add your twist to it, and maybe even push it forward even further and do something that you haven't even heard anyone do yet. You know what I'm saying? So Hannah said, should I release a song or mixtape first? Now, I'm going to say this. I would say, and this is just my opinion. Just remember, this is just my opinion. I would release a song first. Let me tell you why. First of all, you need to make sure your music is quality. It's not about quantity as much as it's about quality. It doesn't matter if you release a whole mixtape. If the whole mixtape's garbage, it don't matter. It really don't matter. No one's gonna get behind you. You know what I'm saying? But and keep in mind that mixtapes, even though a mixtape's purpose is you're usually rapping over beats that you don't own, and you're trying to build a fan base off of it, you're not trying to really do anything commercial with it because you don't have the rights for the music. But that's still gonna cost you money. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it from a business standpoint. If you make a mixtape that has 15 songs and you're leasing every track for $10 to $25 and up per song, that's not including mixing, recording, mastering, album artwork. Are you shooting a music video? What's your plans on promoting and marketing it? As you can see, everything adds up. So I submit to you this: if you were to take the budget that you were going to spend on a mixtape and spend that on one song, that one song can get you more exposure than that mixtape would, just on a financial standpoint. Instead, make one really, really good song. How many artists have you hear the term one hit wonder? Most artists pop off with one song. That's one song that really gets them put on. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, it's like, oh, can they write another hit song? You know, back in the day, you know, you would have to buy a whole album just to get the one song you actually wanted. And nowadays, people don't even buy albums really like that no more. They just buy singles. They can just go on Amazon or iTunes and buy just specifically whatever song they want. You know what I'm saying? And then every song has a star rating, so you can kind of already clearly see like what's the personal favorites from everybody. So they've already kind of given you feedback on what's the hot songs you need to check out. And so it's just a different time. So that's just my advice. If I were you, I would focus on creating one really good song, get feedback on that song, work with a producer, someone who's really good at, producing music and producing artists. I've been doing a lot of that myself with artists. I actually just wrapped up an EP I was working on with a fellow student, but all that costs money, and that's something you gotta count the cost, because what ends up happening is people end up spending way more money than they needed to on a project, and then once it's all said and done, and it comes time to market it and promote it, shoot a music video, they're out of money, they're out of cash, and so they start, skipping corners, and then no one ever hears that project. And that is so common. It's one of my pet peeves. I hate to see that, because that's the whole point of putting all that hard work into the music, is to get it out there so people can hear it. And so I submit to you this, that you can do more with one song when you're first starting off on a budget than you possibly could with a whole mixtape. But that's just my 2 cents. So Tony Soros, someone said I remind him of Public Enemy. I never listened to them, so is that a good or bad thing? It's not a bad thing, Tony, at all. The thing is, people's always going to refer or say you remind them of somebody else. I've been compared to so many artists, and I have to scratch my head sometimes. Actually, you know that venue I was telling you about, that person earlier, about the backyard, the family reunion. I remember a kid came up to me, and he was like, "Man, you a good rapper, man." I was like, "I appreciate it." He said, "Man, you sound just like Drake." I'm like, "What?" And I'm thinking like, well, Drake is probably the only person he's ever heard rap. He probably don't have a whole lot of references, you know what I'm saying? So, like, for an example, if someone was referring to you as Public Enemy, they're saying you have like an old school sound, and, they may not be current with a lot of the new rappers, and that may be what they have to reference to. So they may, refer to you. So it doesn't mean that you're biting that artist or you're not original, because the way that we explain things, like when I'm teaching, for an example, when I'm teaching with tutorials and stuff like that, I'm always going to use things the best I can to relate to what point I'm trying to get across. That way that I'm using something that's familiar with other people, therefore they can understand what I'm trying to describe. So if you're trying to describe like how a food tastes, like you hear people talk about like frog legs and stuff like that, and they always say, "Man, it tastes like chicken." But it's not a chicken. It's a frog leg. How can a frog taste like a chicken? But whatever. So don't worry about that. It's not that you're unoriginal or anything like that. And here's another thing too about originality. When it comes to rapping, none of us are really that original. And I know we hate to hear that. But the truth be told, man, is just the fact that we're rapping is not original, because there's almost 40 years of rapping that's been going on with hip hop. And that's why I encourage people to don't be afraid to be influenced by other rappers. You know what I'm saying? Eminem was receiving an award one time, and he was basically saying, I can't take, full credit for this award because really I'm a product of all you other rappers. And he just went on the list like 15 or so rappers. And he was like, I studied y'all. He made the comment when he heard Yoke the Joker by Naughty by Nature. He said he couldn't even write a rap that whole summer. It just blew his mind that much that he probably went home and listened to that song and that album every single day and was trying to figure out how in the world did they pull that off. And therefore he was influenced by that. And so don't be afraid. If someone says that you sound like Public Enemy, maybe go check out Public Enemy. Don't be afraid to check them out. Don't feel like it's going to be some type of virus that's going to hit you. It's going to infect you like, oh no, I'm going to be a knockoff. No, one of my best advices to anybody out there who's wanting to get good at anything, and I say this all the time and I'll always repeat it because, people's always listening for the first time, but use references. When I say that, use other stuff that already is really good and use that to learn from, and allow yourself to be influenced by it, learn those techniques, learn what that person's doing, and put your own twist to it. So it's not a good or a bad thing. I've been compared to Eminem, Jay-Z, which I still don't get Jay-Z either. All types of rappers, man. Like just whatever rapper that person has heard, if they're trying to describe me, they're just going to describe me as one of the rappers that they know. But there's so many rappers out there. There's just so many. And I mean, there's only so many different ways that you can sound. And so you're likely going to be similar to somebody. I mean, when Eminem first came out, people were saying that he sounded like Cage. And then now Eminem is somebody that's used to describe a lot of artists. Like, oh, he's kind of like Eminem. And whatever. If he's really lyrical, they may say you sound like Eminem, even though your vocals don't sound like Eminem. So people will say you sound like people based on different things. Like sometimes I put the energy of DMX into some of my songs. And hey, yo, you know what I'm saying? I can sound like DMX if I need to. But that's not how I sound when I'm rapping. But they get that energy. They can kind of feel like, oh, that kind of probably reminds them of the energy of DMX. But I also may have the lyricism of someone like Eminem with wordplay and, punchlines and yada, yada, yada. So it's all good. It's all good. So don't get too bent out of shape about that. Joseph Knox, what resources do you recommend to learn mixing and mastering on FL Studios 12? First thing is mixing and mastering is not something specific to any program. So you can learn mixing and mastering from someone that's teaching it on Pro Tools, and it will still apply to FL Studio or any other program for that matter. Now, one thing I can go ahead and tell you about is I've been studying mixing and mastering for probably about 13 years, and I'm still learning it. I mean, it's just something that there's so many techniques when it comes to mixing. One issue in the market as far as the teaching is a lot of the people teaching are only teaching you how to mix rock and roll music, alternative stuff, everything but hip hop. And nothing wrong with that, but I would recommend you to someone who actually teaches on that, who teaches you how to mix to hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Because hip hop tracks are mixed very differently than, let's say, a country song. Hip hop is very, bass driven. You know what I'm saying? It's all about that kick and that snare and that vocal. Some genres, the vocals aren't so up front, like rock and roll. Sometimes the guitars are more prominent than the kick drums and then the vocals. So one person I would highly recommend you is check out Matthew Weiss from the Pro Audio Files. He actually has a course on mixing hip hop. Check him out. That would be just he is like an audio nerd, and I love it. And he knows what he's talking about, and really good teacher too. So check him out, Matthew Weiss, the Pro Audio Files. Just search him up. He has a YouTube channel, does a lot of free tutorials, and he also has paid courses. So hope that helps. Zishan, how do I sound good on a microphone? I have cool beats, but my vocals sound off. So I'm not sure what you mean by sounding off. If that's a microphone issue or if that's a delivery issue. it's kind of hard to kind of, diagnose what your issue is. It could be your recording environment. It could be you recording in a room that has no carpet and there's a lot of echo and reverb, or whatever. Go back and check out my last live stream, because I go in deep talking about, actually I think it was the one before that. I go deep talking about recording and stuff like that. Yeah, it's 2 live streams ago. So not the one from last week, but the week before. And I go in really heavy talking about recording. Like you definitely gotta check that out. Like 30 minutes. I go in deep, like deeper than I thought I was gonna go. I mean, about that. So there's so much. I don't want to just repeat all the stuff I said in that, because I couldn't even do it justice right now this late into the stream. But it's from 2 streams ago. But one thing, there's one quick advice I'll give you is, the positioning of the microphone is really important, and this is something a lot of people miss. So right now I'm speaking to you. My microphone is inside this Chaotica eyeball, which I personally love the eyeball. It helps eliminate a lot of the room acoustics from getting into the mic. And if you pay attention, like the mic is facing me, right? And then there's still a lot of space before it hits, any sounds hit the wall back there and bounces back here. So you want to record in the center of your room, as far away from all the walls as possible. But also the positioning of the mic, how far or close to the mic are you when you record, dramatically affects the way you sound. For an example, if you ever watch people who are doing podcast or voiceover work, they're right up on that microphone like this. And the reason is because when you're really close to a mic, you get a lot more of that bass. You know what I'm saying? Are you ready? It's going down. You get that Transformer, Autobots roll out. You get that type of voice. But when you back up from it a little bit, it's not as bassy. It's a little bit thinner. And the further you back up from it, the thinner it's going to get. And also the more room you're going to pick up in the mic. So a good medium is anywhere between, 6 to 8 inches, something like that. I mean, you don't have to literally measure it out, but just play around with it. Do a lot of recording, manipulating where you are in relation to the microphone, and just record yourself and listen to yourself a lot. That's my best advice. Something I still do. If I would call somebody and I leave them a voicemail, I always play the voicemail back, because I want to listen to how I sounded. I mean, it's something I'm very conscious of. And it's something that it's been one of my personal development opportunities forever. People think I sound country and stuff now. I sound way more proper than I used to. Like, I used to speak my accent was so heavy back in the day that people down here in the South could hardly understand what I was saying. And that's bad. That's really bad. And when I started, getting more into the professional world and the corporate world and stuff like that, I had to really, really step it up a notch. And I still have that accent, but I've worked on it a lot. But one of the ways I did that was by recording myself and critiquing myself and listen, because I'm telling you, the way that you think you sound in your head, like when you hear yourself rapping just in a room, is way different than how you sound on a microphone. It just is. And even recording on a mic and hearing yourself live is weird at first for a lot of people. And so what I would say is, if you don't think you sound good, that's good. That's a good thing. Because if you're already critiquing yourself and you don't think you sound good, then what you need to do now is figure out what doesn't sound good. What do you not like about it? And what do you want to work on changing? Identify that and start working towards that, whatever that is. Because, the thing is, God's already given you a voice. You can't change your voice per se. You can't get like a vocal transplant, at least not yet that I'm aware of. The thing is you want to, once again, work with what you have. It's not about what you have, it's about what you do with what you have. So no matter how your voice is, your job is to figure out how to make that work. What beats sound the best over your vocals? Try to think of other rappers that kind of have your same vocal tone. And mimic them, like literally mimic them, like learn their songs and mimic their emotions and their energy and stuff like that. Learn how they fluctuate their voice and mimic that, and try to incorporate some of those characteristics into your recording. There's so much that you can do with your vocal. I'm telling you, like you can, your vocal is like a muscle, and the more you work it, the more control you seem to have over it. At least for me, because I remember at some point in time, I thought I would never be able to like do any type of melodic type of stuff in a song, and I thought I could never do any type of singing. And hey, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not calling myself a singer, but I've gotten way better singing over the years by just practicing and learning my voice and learning how to put strain on my vocal cords and breathing and things of that nature. And also check out an article on my website called How to Improve Your Rap Voice. And within that article, it links to, I think, 3 or 4 other articles about this topic. It shares a lot of good advice on there. But that would be my best advice to you. All right, I'm going to answer one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. George asks, how do you practice matching the mood of the beat? Good question. So, once again, not trying to get too deep, but music is nothing but frequencies. And our bodies actually respond to frequencies chemically, literally. Like when you listen to music, there's waves, individual waves that are hitting your body. Those frequencies are hitting your body, and it literally makes your body chemically react to it, which is why you feel sad when you hear certain things, or you feel happy when you hear certain things. That's literally like dopamine and stuff being released in your body in response to music. So what you need to really pay attention to is what emotions do you feel when you listen to something? Yeah, how does it make you feel? Like, pay really close attention to that first initial feeling. It can be a little bit more difficult to do when you've heard something a million times because it's no longer new to you and you won't have as much of an emotional response to it. Therefore, that's why it's difficult for a lot of artists to enjoy music that they've already worked on for a long period of time, because it's lost that new car smell and they lose perspective of how good that song probably is. If it is a good song, they kind of lose that perspective after a while because they're familiar with it. And so pay attention to the mood or the emotion of how you feel when you listen to something. And that's what you want to try to recreate. That's what you want to try to match when it comes to the instrumental. Don't overthink it. It's not even a thinking thing. It's a feeling thing. Just allow yourself to feel the music. And it's the first thing that I do, when I'm listening to music and I'm trying to figure out what I want to write to. Sometimes it has to do with the mood that you already have. A lot of times we want to write the music that reflects how we feel. Like if you're really upset, you may not want to have a happy-go-lucky beat to write to because it doesn't match your emotion. It doesn't sync up with you at that moment in time. Life is dynamic and so is music. And so there's all different types of music for all different types of emotional states that us human beings go through. And that's why we create all these different types of music. You're not always happy. You're not always sad. And so music reflects those fluctuations and dips of emotions. And so that's another thing to think about too. Like, ask yourself, how do you feel? And then try to find an instrumental that matches how you feel. That's another way to approach it. So that's pretty much that. I don't think I have to go too much more deep into that. Hopefully that helps you out. So yeah, I'm glad I see your feedback. Thank y'all so much. CJ Kid, I appreciate it. He said, I need another coaching session. Cole Mize is an amazing coach. Anyone that sees this, his coaching sessions are really underpriced. I appreciate that, CJ Kid. There's a lot of magic that happens in my one-on-one coaching sessions. Maybe one day I'll do a public coaching session because people don't ever get to see that magic happening. They get to kind of get a glimpse of it here. It's just not quite the same though, because it's not me and another person speaking live and working together. But yeah, I appreciate that, CG, man. I really do, man. Appreciate you too, man. And yeah, let's get another session going. But thank y'all so much. Another great session. Like I said, y'all could have been anywhere else, but y'all chose to be here to hang out with this big-headed old fellow who's passionate about rapping. So hope y'all have an awesome rest of the week. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But next week, we're actually going to be going over my recordings. All right? Hold me to it, y'all. Next week, I'm going to have my stuff recorded. We're going to go over it. We're going to talk through it. and then we'll take it from there. So I want y'all to hold me to it. If I don't do it, I want y'all to boycott. I want y'all to start protesting. You know what I'm saying? Hold me to it now. But anyways, if this is your first time being here, then you can go ahead and you can subscribe somewhere like right there. You can get my free ebook and also watch other videos in this playlist on the Writing a Song Live project that we've been doing. So this is Cole Mize, and I'm signing off. And remember, when it comes to rapping, there's no rules. There's only techniques. Peace.